There was once an angel so beautiful that no human artist could ever capture his appearance, so powerful that millions of spirits knew his name, so honored that he stood in the immediate, blinding presence of God himself. He walked among the fiery stones of the holy mountain. He stood beneath the uncreated glory of the Almighty. He witnessed mysteries that no human eye will ever see. He possessed everything a created being could ever desire. But pride entered his heart, and it cost him everything: his home, his position, his glory, his future, his name. And his fall became the beginning of evil itself. This is the story of Lucifer, the angel who desired God's throne, the rebel who divided the heavens, the enemy who would one day deceive the world. And the war that followed would become the greatest rebellion in the history of creation. Let us journey back to a time before Adam, before the dust of the earth was shaped by the hand of the Creator, before Eden, before sin, to a moment when creation knew only absolute, unbroken peace. Imagine a realm untouched by death, a kingdom entirely untouched by sorrow, a place where darkness had never cast a single shadow, because the light was not produced by a sun, but by the very character of the sovereign. This was heaven, the dwelling place of the Most High. At its center stood a throne unlike anything human language can describe. Lightning flashed from its brilliant foundations. Glory radiated in every direction. The majesty of God filled every corner of existence. Around the throne gathered countless angels, not hundreds, not thousands, countless millions. 10,000 times 10,000 spirits, burning with holy fire, moving in perfect harmony. Their voices rose together in a unity so profound that the very foundations of the realm vibrated with their song. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty. The sound ruled across eternity like thunder, yet it was sweeter than any melody known to man. Worship was not an obligation. It was not a duty imposed upon them. It was pure, ecstatic joy. To look upon the Creator was to love Him, and to love Him was to sing. Everything in heaven existed for the glory of God. Every angel knew their purpose. Every creature knew their Creator. And among the entire heavenly host, one stood above them all as the crown jewel of creation: Lucifer, the morning star, the bearer of light. When angels looked upon him, they saw extraordinary beauty, a reflection of divine craftsmanship at its absolute peak. He was sealed with the pattern of perfection, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. His garments were woven with every precious stone: ruby, topaz, emerald, chrysolite, and sapphire, all gold wrought and prepared on the day he was created. Built into his very structure were workmanship of timbrels and pipes. He was a walking instrument of praise. When he spoke, the heavens listened. When he led the choir of eternity, the music reached heights no other spirit could achieve. When they listened to him, they heard extraordinary wisdom. When they watched him carry out his duties, they witnessed flawless excellence. He was the anointed guardian cherub, placed on the holy mountain of God. He had access to the inner courts. He walked in the midst of the fiery stones. He was admired throughout heaven, respected, honored, trusted above all others.
Yet none of those things belonged to him. They were gifts. Every ounce of his staggering beauty had been given by God. Every measure of his vast wisdom had come from God. Every position of unmatched honor had been entrusted by God. He was a mirror, designed to reflect the light of the King, not to keep it. And for ages beyond human calculation, Lucifer served faithfully. He led the praises of the host. He walked in the blazing presence of the Almighty.
But then, something changed. No trumpet announced it. No alarm sounded throughout the heavenly courts. No angel noticed it at first. The battle that one day would shake the cosmos did not begin on a literal battlefield. It began in the quiet, hidden depths of a single heart. One day, Lucifer looked upon his own reflection, not with gratitude to the one who made him, but with self-admiration. For the first time in eternity, his attention lingered on himself. For the first time, he marveled at his own brilliance, separate from the source of that brilliance. He looked at his garments of precious stones. He listened to the beauty of his own voice, and he became proud because of his beauty. He corrupted his wisdom for the sake of his splendor. The thought seemed harmless in its infancy, but pride rarely arrives as an enemy with an open sword. It arrives as a compliment, a whisper, a feeling, a subtle, intoxicating suggestion. You deserve more. Lucifer welcomed the thought instead of casting it out. Days passed, ages rolled by, and the whisper grew louder, turning into a conviction. You deserve more. The more Lucifer admired himself, the less satisfied he became with serving, even if that service was at the right hand of God. Consider what was lost in that moment. Every day he stood closer to God's glory than any earthly king could ever dream. Every day he heard songs no mortal would ever hear. Every day he possessed privileges beyond imagination. He had proximity to the divine. He had the love of the Creator. He had the reverence of heaven. Yet he looked at eternity and decided it wasn't enough. It is the greatest tragedy in the history of creation, the ultimate waste of perfection. And from that tragic void, a dangerous, unfathomable question formed in his mind. Why should all glory belong to God? The question should have shocked him into repentance, yet he did not reject it. He entertained it. He nurtured it in the dark corners of his will. He protected it from the light of truth. And the question quickly became a desire. The desire became an obsession. The obsession became an internal rebellion. Each day, Lucifer stood before God's throne. Each day, he watched the endless ranks of angels bow low in reverence. Each day, he heard heaven's eternal worship echoing against the crystal sea. And slowly, a bitter, toxic jealousy consumed him, not because he lacked anything, but because he wanted everything. He wanted the throne. He wanted absolute authority. He wanted the worship that belonged to the Creator alone. He wanted to be what only God could be, self-existent, supreme, and sovereign. Then came the internal declarations that would change the trajectory of history forever. 5 times he spoke within his heart, setting his will against the Almighty. I will ascend to heaven. He wanted to claim ownership of the celestial realm. I will raise my throne above the stars of God.
He wanted to rule over all other angelic principalities. I will sit on the Mount of Assembly, on the utmost heights of the sacred mountain. He wanted the place of supreme judgment. I will ascend above the tops of the clouds. He wanted to cloak himself in the majesty that belonged only to the divine. And finally, the ultimate blasphemy. I will make myself like the Most High. With those silent words, Lucifer crossed a boundary from which there would be no return. He had committed the ultimate treason, the creation attempting to supplant the Creator.
But rebellion is difficult to accomplish alone. To strike at the throne of God, he needed an army. And what Lucifer did next would divide the kingdom of heaven forever. He began to move among the angelic host, no longer as a minister of praise, but as a merchant of slander. Quiet conversations in the outer courts, private gatherings away from the immediate light of the throne. He did not approach them with open malice. He was too wise for that. He approached them with questions disguised as deep concerns and doubts disguised as higher wisdom. He began to question the justice of God's laws. He whispered that the Almighty was withholding greater freedom from them. He looked at the powerful spirits around him and whispered that beings of such immense power and light should not be subjected to absolute submission. He painted God as a tyrant and himself as a liberator. He promised them higher ranks, greater autonomy, and a new order where they would no longer have to bow. No human ear knows exactly what words were spoken in those celestial corridors, but somehow the impossible happened. Perfect beings living in a perfect environment began to listen to a lie. Some angels shook their heads and turned away in horror, fleeing back to the light of the King, but others stayed. They nodded in agreement. The seeds of dissatisfaction had been successfully planted. The division grew like a hidden cancer through the ranks of the spirit realm. Throughout the vast expanses of heaven, loyalty was being tested. One by one, decisions were made in the quietness of angelic wills. One by one, sides were chosen. The unity of heaven was fractured. A third of the angelic host chose to cast their lot with the morning star. They chose the creature over the Creator. Then came the moment that shattered the eternal silence of the realm. War. Not on earth, not among mortal nations with swords of iron, but war in heaven itself. The place that had known only peace, the place that had known only holy worship and flawless harmony. Suddenly, it became a theater of cosmic conflict. Michael, one of heaven's chief princes, a mighty archangel of fierce and unyielding loyalty, was at the head of God's faithful armies. He was the champion of the Creator's honor, his very name asking the definitive question, who is like God? Across from him stood Lucifer, the brightest angel ever created, now transformed into the most tragic rebel in history, surrounded by millions of fallen spirits who called him their leader. The battle that followed cannot be measured by earthly standards. It was a clash of pure wills, a collision of spiritual authorities, a war of cosmic powers. Light collided with darkness. Holiness confronted corruption. Creation attempted to rise up and overthrow the one who holds the universe together by the word of his power. The heavens trembled under the weight of the confrontation. But the outcome of this war was never truly uncertain. There was no suspense in the courts of the Almighty.
because no created being, no matter how beautiful, wise, or powerful, can ever overthrow the one who spoke all things into existence. Lucifer had mistaken God's long-suffering patience for weakness. He had mistaken his magnificent gifts for personal, inherent greatness. He had mistaken the privilege of proximity for equality with the divine. And now the time of mercy had expired. The hour of absolute judgment had come. The rebellion collapsed under the weight of divine sovereignty. The forces of Lucifer were utterly defeated. There was no longer any place found for them in heaven. And the entire host of faithful angels watched in awe as Lucifer lost everything he had arrogantly sought to gain. The throne remained God's, unshaken and unmovable. The worship remained God's, echoing through the restored courts. The kingdom remained God's, pure and undefiled. And Lucifer was violently cast out. He was thrown down to the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. The great dragon was hurled down, that ancient serpent who leads the whole world. In an instant, the angel of light became the prince of darkness. The guardian of the mountain became the destroyer of worlds. The supreme worshipper became the ultimate adversary. Lucifer, the morning star, was gone from the heights of glory. Satan, the accuser, had arrived. He fell from the highest state of privilege to the lowest depths of condemnation. He was brought down to the pit, to the uttermost depths of ruin. If you are captivated by these deep cinematic journeys into biblical history, take a moment to subscribe and join our community. Drop a comment below letting us know where you are watching from. Because though Satan was cast out of heaven, his malice was not extinguished. His hatred for the Creator had only intensified. It turned into a burning desire to destroy everything that God loved. His war against the Almighty was not over. In fact, as he looked upon the pristine, newly formed Garden of Eden and the two innocent creatures made in the image of his Creator,